Making sweep a daily habit. What do we mean by sweep? The workplace and daily equipment are kept clean. Actions are taken to design cleanliness into the workplace. How do we make sweep a daily habit? Build cleaning, keep clean responsibilities into each job. The workplace is clean and in order before the day is concluded. Supervisors and employees reinforce cleanliness daily. Cleanliness is included in high-performance workplace audits. Feedback and action occur immediately, if at all possible. Require all employees to adhere to the same set of clean rules. It's tempting to address the sweep step of 5S by simply asking people to keep things clean on a daily basis. Let them know of this need in a team meeting or post a note on the bulletin board asking them to keep things clean. Unfortunately, these oft-tried approaches tend to have limited benefits. You have to let people know why it is important to keep things clean. Consistently give them feedback when they are both following and not following the rules. And most importantly, change their work systems to make it easier to keep things clean. Again, it may sound simple, but you need to realize that all people are not clean by nature, and that old habits require system changes to convert them into new ones. 6 actions you and your people can take to make sweep a daily habit are shown on the visual. Job descriptions should be modified to express each person's responsibility for keeping things swept and clean. Each leader needs to keep their own work areas clean, and they need to personally ensure that things are clean when people leave the workplace each day. In addition to looking for cleanliness and addressing cleanliness concerns whenever you are in the workplace, you also need to use some form of audit to provide a measure of cleanliness that can be trended over time. You must recognize that you're sending a message to people about what is important whenever you are out in the workplace, whether you actually make any comments to your people or not. Because your people see you as a leader, they follow your example when it comes to following the rules, and that includes your cleanliness rules. What should be standardized? Standards for all. Reduce clutter, eliminate unnecessary items, organize every work area, make cleaning and organization easier, establish consistent policies and procedures, make it easier for people to follow the rules. Standards in practice. Communicate through training, meetings, and daily feedback. Clearly define and consistently enforce both positive and negative consequences. Recognize and reward commitment regularly. Daily, positive, consistent, meaningful, informal feedback from the leader the person reports to is the most important and influential. It's important to note that standards are not created for the purpose of putting 5S in place. Instead, you establish performance standards to help make sure that the processes you are responsible for produce results that meet the needs of your internal and external customers. Many organizations have one set of performance standards on paper and a different set of standards that people practice and are enforced on a daily basis. How much consistency exists between the standards you state personally in your training or in your policies and those that your people demonstrate through their actions on a daily basis? How consistently do you personally follow the defined standards yourself? Your job will be much easier if all the leaders in your building commit to following a consistent approach to standardizing work processes. You will also find that recognizing people for doing a good job on a regular basis has a much greater impact than only giving them feedback when their performance does not measure up to your expectations. If you can make it easy for your people to follow the rules yourself, and let them know how much you personally appreciate their efforts, you will be well on your way towards creating a workplace that looks very different and produces much better results. 10 ways to sustain the 5S discipline. Make 5S a part of a larger performance workplace plan. Require management to set a strong 5S example. Require all leaders to enforce 5S daily and in all areas. Build 5S expectations into every employee's job description. Clearly and visually define what each 5S work area should look like. Modify work instructions and procedures to include 5S actions. Make 5S part of your monthly high-performance work area audit. Build 5S into your site's employee recognition process. Monitor projects from a 5S perspective as part of your performance review meetings. Create a 5S implementation Gantt chart for the first 3 to 6 months of your 5S initiative. This list captures 10 key strategies for sustaining a daily 5S discipline. I first created this list to help people realize that 5S is possible, but it's not the only focus you should have. This list is also intended to help you see how to best invest your limited time in a focused way to help make your transition to a 5S workplace a reality. In other words, there's other ways to go about implementing 5S that is much more time intensive. However, those approaches may not yield as good of results. So first, we want to make 5S part of a larger, high-performing workplace plan. Besides bringing up Program of the Month memories from the past amongst your people, treating your 5S initiative as a standalone process will create a lot of confusion about why you're undertaking the effort. Such an approach will also result in the inefficient use of resources. Many companies use special training, audits, and meetings that have a specific 5S focus in an effort to get the program going. However, this is not an approach that integrates 5S practices into each person's daily job. Instead, build 5S practices and expectations into your larger performance improvement plan and operational excellence strategies. In a similar sense, don't form a 5S specific team. Instead, build 5S initiative reviews into your regular leadership team and/or workgroup team meetings. It works much better when the team is responsible for safety, quality, orderliness, cleanliness, things of that nature, than some external group acting as a police force. So empower your work team to practice 5S on their own, audit themselves, and improve on their own. Require management to set a strong 5S example. Nothing will kill a 5S effort quicker than having employees walk by messy managers' desks or work areas right after they have attended a 5S project update meeting. The leadership team should be the most effective team in a given company, and the work areas of managers in a 5S company should be the cleanest and most organized. Additionally, you should expect every member of management to support 5S practices consistently and regularly. If a manager sees someone not practicing 5S ideals, they should politely challenge those people and ask them to correct the behavior or condition, even if that person does not report to them. Make 5S part of the culture. Require every supervisor and manager to enforce 5S practices on a daily basis. The monthly walkthrough, high-performance workplace audit in other words, discussed below serves as a great tool for providing measurable 5S progress. Using walkthroughs help reinforce 5S expectations, but you should also recognize that supervisors are conducting performance audits whenever they're out there with their people. So they're almost doing multiple walkthroughs a day. What is not said often sends a stronger message than what is said to people. If a supervisor walks by someone who is violating a 5S or other type of high performance expectation and does not say anything, they are in essence telling that person that their behavior is okay. Similarly, the daily reinforcement of good 5S practices when they are exhibited carries much more weight than simply saying thank you in general to the overall group in a monthly meeting. Incorporate 5S expectations into every employee's job description. If you want your work areas to remain swept, straightened, and shiny, expect each employee to leave them that way when they go home for the evening. This is best accomplished by 1. Rewriting every job description to include 5S expectations, 2. Emphasizing these expectations in workgroup meetings, and 3. Providing immediate performance feedback when a workplace does not meet the expectation at the end of a shift or day. Clearly and visually define what each 5S workplace should look like. Before and after pictures of 5S progress send a strong message about what is expected and what will be recognized. Pictures also help people better understand what each 5S concept will look like when it actually is put in place on the job. You may also benefit from taking your work groups over to a 5S best practice work area and talking about the differences. If you want all of your people to adhere to a place for everything and everything in its place, you had better rewrite your procedures to include steps for putting things back where they belong. You also need to make sure that clear, easy-to-use procedures exist for disposing of waste or obsolete products or supplies. After all, don't our work instructions define what we are expected to do at work each day? Build 5S expectations into your monthly high-performance work practices walkthrough. Sure, you can do a special 5S walkthrough each month, just like you do the monthly safety inspection. But your time will be much better invested if you create a monthly high-performance work practices walkthrough assessment tool and include 5S expectations as a part of it. For example, in addition to looking for consistency of 5S practices, also look for consistency in the use of visual performance postings, safe work practices, proper lean changeovers, Six Sigma project support, and employee awareness of high-performance work concepts. As you move through each workplace, look for multiple practices, not just singular ones. An example of a 5S audit checklist is provided in the Teach It Yourself workbook. Include 5S recognition in your regular employee recognition efforts. The best thing you can do is recognize each team monthly that meets or exceeds the minimum score on the High Performance Work Practices walkthrough. Avoid the tendency to give out a cleanest workplace of the month or a most organized department award. Again, recognize any group that achieves set standards. In particular, avoid punishing people for being one of the worst teams. And that includes shaming using pictures of messy workplaces and calling folks out. You want to show the mess, but be careful about the shaming. You only have so many recognition dollars to spend in your budget. Use them to recognize team success against an all-encompassing set of optimal performance work practice criteria. Create a 5S punch list and show regular progress towards its completion. One of the best things about putting 5S in place is that once you get over the initial hump, it's relatively easy to keep 5S alive. For example, once you have sorted out all of your obsolete equipment and supplies, you should not have to do those tasks again as long as your people each fulfill the expectations of their modified daily job. By creating a single 5S punch list for the whole facility, reviewing it weekly as part of your leadership team meeting, don't form a 5S implementation team in other words, and tracking the percent complete for each action item on the list, you can easily keep up with the progress of your 5S initiative. Create a 5S implementation plan with milestones that appreciate process evolution. If you follow these guidelines, you should see progress in a relatively short amount of time. Additionally, you should see little regression back to where you were when you started your 5S initiative. For example, after 3 to 6 weeks of consistent sweeping and straightening up at the end of each day, that behavior should have become a habit. Each workplace should be much cleaner, and the need to emphasize and spend time on these two pieces of the 5S puzzle should be low. Also, once you've undertaken that big effort to get rid of all the stuff you've collected over the years and created a reorganized approach to storage in all work areas, you should not have to worry about doing those tasks again. If you approach 5S properly, It will take 3 months or less to put the 5 approaches in place by converting them into workplace habits for each team. If you leave out one or more of the critical steps listed here, your 5S transition will either take much longer to occur or it may not occur at all. You are trying to change habits here, both those of your people and your own. If you want 5S to work, you have to decide that it's important for you to enforce and support. You have to be able to explain why 5S is important. Create and share compelling answers for their "why do we have to do all this new 5S stuff" questions. In doing so, you create a visually different workplace and a workplace that you and your people can take much more pride in. Team exercise number 8, 5S benefits, barriers, and next steps. What benefits would you gain if 5S became a discipline? What are the key barriers to making 5S a daily habit? What are the first steps you need to take to make 5S part of the daily job? The objectives of this exercise are to learn more about the 5S concepts: sweep, sort, set in order, standardize, and self-discipline, and the possible barriers that often hinder 5S implementation in the workplace. This exercise will also help you begin identifying ways you can make the 5S concepts a key part of your workplace each day. So let's begin. The first thing we always like to do here is collect our individual thoughts and then work in small groups to reach consensus. And so the first little mini exercise would be identify 3 benefits you would gain if your team used the 5 concepts of 5S on a daily basis. The second mini exercise is to identify 1 to 3 possible barriers that could hold back progress in putting each of the 5S concepts in place. Once you've done that, try to identify at least one countermeasure to address each potential barrier. Should you choose to have team report outs, and I always think that's a nice idea to at least have 1 or 2 teams share their work, your team might be asked to share, first of all, the benefits of living a 5S lifestyle. We also want to take a look at the possible 5S implementation barriers and possible countermeasures or system changes we could make to reduce barrier impact for the 5S concepts the group was assigned.